you would like to talk Cowboys, right?
Sure. It's your show.
From the wonderful world of sports, Radio Sports Scoreboard.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
We already talked a little bit about the oddity of, like, I have never heard of a current in-season football player being chosen for jury duty. I feel like jury duty is something commonly people get out of, and especially if you're a pro athlete.
Yeah, and see, I was thinking about this with regard to Brandon Aubrey. I've gotten out before by just saying, like, hey, I gotta take care of a newborn.
And he does, well, yeah.
I mean, I had a wife that was helping too, and I would go to the show, but every minute that I was not doing the show, I needed to be at home to take care of the kid. So, I don't know.
I've been called twice and never chosen.
I've been called and always had a good excuse.
Like you
Or
didn't even have to go
excuse. In? Correct.
Okay. I've had to go in both times and then sit around and stuff, but I always wanted to be chosen, though.
No, you don't.
Really? I feel like it'd be cool.
You think you want to, and then you get chosen and you don't. My wife had one that drug on for like 3 weeks or something.
Really?
Yeah, and it was gnarly.
Uncle Gary, I remember, said he was on one and, like, he was the foreman.
Of course.
You'd end up being the foreman, wouldn't you?
Does people vote? Because if they vote, I'm pretty hateable just by sight.
Okay, I don't know.
Most people are like, don't know what it is, want to punch that guy.
Maybe we should do jury roundtable someday. I'd like to know the answer to this. Like, do they vote? How do you become a foreman? How'd you get in?
Probably could Google it.
So you probably Google everything we do here, and
well, I think
wanna
the
sit and
interesting
talk
thing
about
about being on a jury is being able to talk about like the behind the scenes part of it explicitly, and I'm not sure how much you can do that. Can you? After the fact, you can a little bit. I guess a lot of them have written books and stuff.
Yeah.
The OJ.
There's got to be a statute of limitation on that. That's just a legal term you guys might not understand.
Yeah,
I'm not from the legal world.
Yeah.
That's you. Yeah, it's really weird. I've never heard of any athlete in any sport ever in season having to do that. It's very strange.
But our guy does. Brandon Aubrey.
I hope he's the foreman. You can trust him.
Yeah, I believe you can. And you know who else you can trust? Qualis Roofing, Jake.
All right.
Qualis Roofing. They're also located, one of the first remotes we ever did was here in Arlington, right? At Qualis Roofing. Is that where I got the
mushroom sandwich?
Two mushrooms on a piece of bread sandwich?
You did.
That's not what they're really well known for, though. They're known for, fixing roofs. And fixing my roof, as a matter of fact.
Did they leave it a mess?
No. You never even knew they were there, except that I have a beautiful new roof on there, no leakage, all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's not even in the copy. They wouldn't even. But it's QualisGC.com, QualisGC.com, and they're big listeners, and they also will offer you a free roof inspection. And if you just have them out to inspect your roof, they'll give you a Dumb Zone T-shirt. And for any listener that gets a roof, they will pay for a sit-in remote for you. Or I think they'll get you an annual subscription as well. So
I don't need a roof, but I have nowhere to park my car. Should I call someone else?
No, they also do carports.
What?
They do it all. That's what the GC means.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's general.
And
I get it.
QualisGC.com.
if you go to QualisGC.com, you can fill out their web form, schedule your free estimate, or just give them a call, 817-500-9008. They're big supporters. We love them. They did a great job at my house. They will do a great job for you as well. So QualisGC.com. Thank you, Qualis Roofing. In Cowboy news, where's my Cowboy news?
Well, it's about Jerry.
Oh, I know what I wanted to talk about. Well, okay, Jerry, first of all. In the 4 days I was gone, or 4 shows I was gone, you must have had tons of Cowboys. It just seems like that radio show of his is really taken off.
Yeah, he went into
If I was those
overdrive
guys on the Fan, I'd be pretty happy about the pub they're getting.
Sure, and I thought they did a good job.
But he keeps doubling down on things, and I guess the recent controversy came out is an ESPN article. entitled, "Are Jerry Jones Fan Tours a Hurdle to a Cowboys Super Bowl?" And some of this stuff is things like we've just come to expect. But if you're talking to somebody like in another city, another fan base, they're reading this story like, what? Really? Yeah. Like when I talked to people in Cleveland this last week, they're like, what's Jerry Jones like? What it's like this and that, and they just can't believe how different things are here. So I'll read some of the things from this article. For $40 a pop, fans can experience a day in the life of a Cowboys player. So you walk around the Star in Frisco on a tour.
The tour we've been on.
So that's $40 is for the basic. $70 for the ultimate fan experience, which includes an authentic letter of fandom from Cowboys owner Jerry Jones.
Letter of fandom? That sounds like whenever somebody names a star after you or something.
Right.
The star registry. Like, it's official. You're a fan.
You also will get a souvenir tote bag, a lapel pin, and a dining and shopping coupon to use at the Star. If you pay $90, so for an extra $20.
Mm-hmm. Now I got the letter, the tour.
You get a Q&A session with an AI Jerry Jones hologram.
An AI?
Yep, that's awesome.
So you can ask hologram Jerry Jones questions, and hologram Jerry will answer them to.
You got to
ask. We need
the
to
first
do this.
Question. Like, come on, that's your kid, right? It shorts out.
Stadium tours across the country. You can go get those, but the Cowboys are the only team that offers the general public access to its training facility, and that's key here. I guess they just, the people from ESPN.com just went and took the tour themselves. They said they took the Friday 10 a.m. Tour. They walked single file down the hallway. That on one side is the Cowboys locker room, and on the other side is the Cowboys weight room. And at the weight room, it's a floor-to-ceiling glass wall. And they said this particular group is like, oh, it's Micah Parsons was in there lifting weights.
Yeah.
And so kind of think of a enclosure at the zoo.
Right.
And comes people walking by, and they're like, their faces pressed up against it while he's trying to rehab and get himself set for this weekend's game.
Yeah, and then another note about that when he's there with his kid. I've heard of this thing they do on Saturdays, home game Saturdays, where they have the families in, they have food trucks and stuff, and Micah's there with his kid, and he's hurt, so you can hear the fans in the tour being like, "Oh, he's limping. He's limping. He's not going to be ready."
Yeah, calling their bookie.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. My general thought, and we could do more details, is I don't think this really matters. They won 12 games 3 years in a row. They obviously have a good team or had a good team. I don't think that's why they don't make it further in the postseason or at all. But it still doesn't seem like a good work environment.
Well, do you wonder, though, if they say every little tiny thing helps? And
sure, the margins are very small.
Such parity, in the NFL. Like, if you could just take away one or two of these distraction-type things, could that be the difference in a game? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But we do know the evidence of, no postseason success in over 25 years.
Yeah, I mean, the other question is, like, why do it? And I guess if you're the Jones family, the answer is, well, because we're turning people into even bigger fans, and if we bring kids in here, they'll be fans, more likely to be fans for life, which means people keep buying all of our shit, and we stay at the top of the Forbes list, I guess. But I think they would do that even without the tours at this point. When
you count the stadium and the Star together, according to this article, they generate $10 million in annual revenue, which seems insane.
On that alone?
On just tours of each place.
That's free money for them.
Several former Cowboys told ESPN the tours are one of the biggest distractions about being on the Cowboys. Dalton Schultz, you remember this? He was on with McAfee. Said the facility is like a zoo because fans would tap on the glass of the weight room.
When he got out of town, he had to go before that place turned into a zoo.
That's right.
I had to say it. Sorry.
Jerry says For what this is worth, I don't think a lot. But Jerry says he's never heard any complaints about the tours from a staff member or a player.
Oh, good, yeah. So nobody went to one of the richest guys in America that they work for and was like, this sucks. I think you should change it.
Yeah.
That's surprising. I like the follow-up quote when he says, no, it's never happened. But the most important thing is it wouldn't make any difference, period, because overall they're swimming against the stream. So he's like, that's never happened. I just want to make sure anybody who thinks about it, it's like the circular of invalidating your own point. Like, yeah, nobody said it. You know why? Because it wouldn't matter. Like you just said it wouldn't matter. I don't know.
A recent former player who requested to remain anonymous says the tours are exhausting because players always have to be on, even on a Saturday afternoon.
Tell me about it.
You always have to be going. We want to have our own space where we can talk, but it's either the media or fans all day. You never get a break. It'd be one thing if they did the tours one day a week, but it is every day at any time. Most teams are trying to limit distractions. The Cowboys don't even acknowledge them at all. Dorrance Armstrong says when getting to Washington, Pat, with the Commanders, he said, when I walk in the building here, I'm smiling because I just have to work. So, talking about they don't have all that other stuff going on. Tony Pollard said it's just more about football here with the Titans. Just X's and O's. I'm in a better place mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all around. And Kelvin Joseph.
Wow.
Boss Man Fat says over here in Kansas City, the point is football and winning championships. That's probably why they released Kelvin Joseph right away.
Yeah.
And then they have a quote from Dante Fowler. He also went to Washington. He says, you got real facilities here. You might not see tourists coming around, but it keeps the main thing the main thing. Now, tiny bit of controversy as Dante Fowler quote tweets that part of the article and says, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
So along with every story.
Yeah, I'm not gonna cape for the media here, but I know how editors and the editing process works. You're not getting a huge feature published at ESPN, regardless of what you think about the New York Slimes or the Washington Compost. If you've dealt with an editor before, if you have quotes in there like that, they absolutely happened. Now, if they say anonymous, maybe not. Because, being forced to give up your source, that can get tricky. If you're quoted in an ESPN feature, you said it. And they have it on tape.
Well, not quoted is Ben DiNucci, who jumped on internet as well and tweeted that same thing. And says, I'll never forget when I would work out on a Tuesday morning and have people tapping on the weight room glass like I was supposed to do something cool on command. Definitely a different business structure inside the Star.
He was probably destined to be an all-pro if somebody was not tapping on the glass.
I agree.
Well, I was going to say, he should be happy it's a different business structure. That's the why he sells those hats, right?
Right.
Like, if he was with a different team, he would not have that line of, let's say, pretty basic line of clothing. He just turns the name upside down.
But now he does it for more than just Dallas, though. Have you considered that? And in lots of different colors.
Like, he's not developing anything.
Well, but see, it was during COVID when the world was flipped upside down.
There was a message.
It was symbolic, Dan.
You might not have gotten it. That's okay.
Jerry does cite the fact that the bottom line is that ever since we've been involved and been doing it for the last 20 years, we're the 6th winningest team in the NFL.
God, they love that.
Since the Star opened, 2016, we are the 4th winningest team in the NFL.
This is all true.
Of course, ESPN will point out that the Cowboys last got to the title game, the NFC title game, not even the Super Bowl, 1995, which is also their last Super Bowl. And then Jerry, tripling down, says he doesn't think the tours are big enough. I'd love to see cameras on the tour.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
That would go out to 20 million people while the people were making the tours and hearing the same thing. And while they're coming down the hall, I'd like to see a coach talking to a player as he walks out of a meeting. talking to a player as they walk right through there.
Why don't just do that with holograms?
They do
If we
point
already
out
have
that
'em.
at the Star, as we've talked about before, fans can visit the Cowboys team auditorium, and then almost every room at the Star is available to rent. So if you want to have your fantasy football draft in the Cowboys war room, you can pay for that.
I've heard that
Really?
actually. Yeah.
That sounds pretty cool.
It does.
Boy, especially the boys you do your league with in the Landry Cup.
Don't you think that? Oh, my gosh.
I'm surprised that hasn't come up.
I wonder, we got to find out how much that costs.
My favorite quote is from near the end when he's talking to the reporter. This is just magic. It's great when someone like you would come along and say, well, I'm hearing that this is maybe a negative. That just makes people that much more interested and makes them go. So I search out for the negatives because that causes more people to read and come take the tours and look at the deal. That is exactly the whole philosophy of how I run the Cowboys. You know how, like, when you're on the road and there's, like, a huge car accident? You're like, I'm going to look. He's like, that's what I want. That's what I want. You can't look away. Oh, God. I actually had the thought yesterday of, like, what are the rules when you're allowed? Like, am I old enough? Have I been a fan long enough? If I wanted to, could I renounce and adopt a new team?
No.
There's just no chance?
You can if your team moves out of town.
Oh, he's got me on that one. What if they're in the same state?
Would you like the Texans?
I mean, if you guys would let me.
Do we have to do Texans watching parties?
No, I'm
'Cause I'll do
interested
it.
in the watching parties now because I want to see them get their brains beat in. And everybody here knows when they're down 3 scores at half, I'm going to still think they have a chance to win. So it's the cycle.